One day I walked up to her, I said, "Listen, it's not here yet, but everybody will get one. Go back to your classroom." And then she looked at me, she's like, "Oh," and then she said, "Oh, wait, do only the good kids get presents?" And every time that I tell this story, it kind of punches me in the stomach. From a very practical level, I am like, all the kids are good. All the kids are good.
The purpose of our conversation today is to help you know very clearly the opportunities for you to care for the kids through their center. It is after school, summer programming, and coaching. The after school opportunity. There's about 85-ish children when volunteers can come to be with them between 3 and 5. There's about 65 kiddos between first grade and fifth grade that are open to tutoring, and about 20 that are grades 6 through 12 that someone can plug in to also tutor or have that deeper relational need met of mentoring.
The summer program begins usually about a week or two after school ends. We'll have about 90 kids here from 8:30 till 3 every day.
Showing up with your giftings can be something that can plug in anywhere throughout the year.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have people who frequently will call, and it's one of the things that I love getting to receive, where someone's sitting and thinking, I've got something, and I wonder if I could share it. I wonder if someone else has a need that I could meet. And sewing was an example. We had a gal who called and said, I can sew. I'm retired now. If any of the girls get a homecoming dress, then it needs to be trimmed up so it will fit them. I'm happy to come in and work with them at the center during the after school program. And that's just one of there's so many different ways that people could just say, I've got this skill. I wonder if I could teach. We're probably most famous for our basketball leagues. Last year we had over 700 kids, which requires over 80 volunteer coaches.
And just to share the breadth of the need, like you may need like 40 to 60 additional coaches for basketball or
Yes.
15 to 20 refs even for this upcoming season.
Yeah. I had an interaction with an 18-year-old here the other day and was just thanking her for being here. And we're like, we're so glad you're here, and just really welcoming her and thanking her for what her contribution was. And she's like, she just looked at me and she's like, no one's ever wanted me around before. Those kind of conversations, this just don't leave me. I mean, I just see that's the value of having a community center, but not just a place where people come, but also where others come that have a different experience and have something to offer and think this is the right place to give it. This is the right place to really get your hands dirty and pour into people. It just really is.
The overarching hope in this new season underneath your stewardship is that we just continue to build the density of loving, kind, caring, compassionate, safe, trustable relational bonds.
Yeah, it's good for whole communities. It's good for the kids specifically here, but these are also the future leaders of the city we all live in. So this is a wonderful opportunity to be part of shaping a healthier and more vibrant and more rounded city of Troy into the future.
Who was the mentor in your life who made all the difference? Or maybe you didn't have one. Who did you need back then? Welcome to the Mentoring Partnership of Miami County podcast, where we shine a light on those walking alongside kids with harder stories here in our community. If you want to show up for a kid from a hard place, complete the no commitment form in the description and we'll guide you down the path that best fits you. Now join us as we explore the transformative power of showing up and how becoming the person you needed can change a child's life, and maybe even your own. Hey everyone, we are here with Kim Rupert, the 8th Executive Director of the Lincoln Community Center since 1938. And the purpose of our conversation today is to help you know very clearly the opportunities for you to care for the kids that come through their center. It is after school, summer, there's summer programming, and coaching. But first, Kim, would love to hear your heart. What is the Lincoln Community Center to you, to the kids, to the parents, to our community?
Yeah, so growing up in Troy, the Lincoln Center is sort of right in the heart of our town. Many of the staff and my siblings learned to swim here in the pool. It has such a rich, beautiful history The story going back into 1865, where, this was a one-room schoolhouse for Black children to attend school. Zoom out to today, and it is a beautiful multicultural center where everyone should feel safe and everyone should feel welcome to be a part. Everyone from little people all the way up to older people, everyone should feel safe and welcome here. We have programming for all of the above, but our bread and butter, our passion is to support youth. And whether that's academics, whether that's helping them to dream about what their future can be, meeting needs that we find out about that exist in their family that might otherwise go unmet, connecting them to resources to kind of push them out into a future that's bigger than they may have imagined for themselves. So that's why I love it. I love the meaningful work of making a difference in the lives of kids every day. And I also love getting to be part of like this generosity hub here in Troy, where so many businesses and private individuals send their best, they send their gifts, they send their talents, they give their time in order to reach people who may have a need. And then we just kind of get to sit here and be the directors of traffic and point people to a vehicle they can ride in to give. And that's very rewarding for me.
Yeah, I can feel that you sense a deep honor, that
Yes.
1865 in that property, that proximity, that you get to now steward the now into the future.
Yeah. It's a very great opportunity.
So good. So let's jump into these opportunities and we'll tease out each one so that people can see themselves in it.
Sure.
And we will start with the after school opportunity. And I'll tease out some numbers here just to give some context. So there's about 85-ish children that are present when volunteers can come to be with them between 3 and 5. There's about 65 kiddos between first grade and fifth grade that are open to tutoring, and about 20 that are grades 6 through 12 that someone can plug in to also tutor or have that deeper relational need met of mentoring. Tell us about those opportunities.
Yes, so our children come here every day after school throughout the whole school year from Troy City Schools. We have vans, but we pick some of them up. Some of them are dropped off by school bus. Sometimes, occasionally, a parent's dropping them off, but they arrive here right after school, hungry, tired, just like all the other kids who walk in the door at home after school. We're kind of that spot where they land. And so, how was your day? How was your day? Anything cool about today? How'd you do on that test yesterday? Just really
Mm.
being adults that are invested in the lives of kids and following up on them and letting them know they're important and how they're performing at school matters. And we're glad they're here. And a lot of times, it was a bad day. And sometimes that carries over into when they walk in the door, just like it would at home, too. So we're just kind of investing in a little bit of conversation and relationship with them at the beginning, giving them a snack, and then they jump into doing homework. So a lot of them do need homework support. Maybe it's a specific project that they've been assigned, depending on the grade level. But at a very basic level, we are doing reading and math tutoring as much as possible with every child that's in our building. We do have a lot of students on IEPs, and they just benefit so much from that one-on-one extra time working through basic reading skills, basic math skills. But you don't have to invent the wheel on your own as a tutor. We welcome tutors from 3 to 5 every day to come into our tutoring room. We do have a lead tutor in there who's a teacher, specializes in reading. She can tell you exactly where to start and which kid to start with. She'll give you the tools and she'll say, do this, and then here's how you document what you've done. So everybody's kind of in that quiet library feeling space at the same time. And they can be working on math flashcards. They could be working on reading. They could be working on maybe writing. It could be kind of any number of things based on what the children's needs are. We start that with first graders, and pretty much up to fifth grade, we're pulling kids on a cycle. So if we had 15 volunteer tutors, every child would be seen a couple of times, maybe a week, or at least once every week. Sometimes we have to stretch it out farther based on how often our tutors are able to serve. The older kids, they're here every day, the longer amount of time because their schools get out earlier. So they're here more like 2:45 to 5 o'clock. And their homework does not take that whole time. some of them do need reading support and would benefit from just reading with someone, but also a lot of them would benefit from someone who was willing to come in and shoot basketball with them, somebody who was willing to look at their drawings and ask questions and take an interest in whatever their particular passion is. We have indoor and outdoor spaces for playing. Everything in our building is very, very well supervised and very visible. And so we do take steps for safety to make sure that, everybody's kind of in spaces together. But yet there are places where you can still have those quiet conversations and invest in getting to know an individual child one-on-one.
Yeah, that's really good to know. It has been hard to investigate or find places of one-on-one mentorship
Yeah.
in Miami County.
Yeah.
It's housed in Big Brothers Big Sisters and other places, but you've really made space and are flexible to meet the deep academic and relational and emotional needs of the kids that walk through the door. The people that help tutor go into the tutoring room, it sounds like that they are very well guided and taken care of by almost like the master guide, the master tutor, as well as very well supported by some of the volunteer staff and you as well, in trying to help find the natural and organic fit of matching an adult to a youth. Is that what
Yeah,
I'm hearing?
and that's a great point too. We have folks who have been. We've got a couple tutors who've been coming here for years, and one I'm thinking of in particular. She has about two or three little girls who they look for her every time she enters
Mm,
the building. I mean, they're coming for a hug. They're coming to talk to her about what they've accomplished. They're coming to share how good their reading scores are improving. They are looking for her, and so in that case, we feel like the best fit for her is to just keep cycling those three kids. So every time she comes in, she kind of pulls those first three first. And our other
mm.
reading tutor knows, okay, those kids are covered. And then she moves down her list so that we move on to the next one. So it's totally possible that as you're spending time with kids, there's these connections that are formed. And we really want to encourage that because we would love for people to be able to just keep going for a long time with the same kids, maybe all the way through high school, just staying with them
Mm.
as an adult that they can trust that looks for them when they get here.
And it also sounded for the relational connections for the 6th to 12th grade, you said basketball, staying on the property, but there's different ways of creatively sharing your gifts, getting to know, having spaces that are always so safety is the utmost priority,
Always.
that
Yep.
always visible, always recorded, there's someone around, but within that confines, you can show up and engage in a relationship in more of a natural, organic way than being surrounded by people.
Right.
Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, we have all kinds of little spaces that we'll have people pop off into that are still, like I said, visible and part of where everyone else is. But yeah, you can have that, experience where you're with them. And because we're not a school, we have a lot of flexibility to like look at what meets the best needs of each individual child. And so some children benefit from just being where everybody else is and being like not having that one on one quiet conversation because trust maybe takes a while
Yes.
to be earned by any adult. But then there are kids who are like in the immediate, they just want somebody to talk to and they
Mm,
quickly decide this is a person I can trust and they start sharing and we do have supports around the building if students would share information that would make people concerned or uncomfortable. We have protocols to deal with those types of things because safety is always going to be our top priority and also looking out for the health and safety of the families that we serve. So there are protocols that you can follow for that kind of thing, but having the opportunity to, hey, let's go over here and sit in the corner in the two beanbag chairs and maybe talk about there's a lot of, this is my favorite comic book series. This is my whatever I like to draw. And if you have a particular interest as a volunteer, if a volunteer has an interest, that we probably have a kid who also has an interest similar, which we could intentionally look to kind of place you with.
mm. Something that we didn't talk about prior to this. So, our executive director of the Mentoring Partnership, when he was going through a really hard time as a kid, what really grabbed his attention was his natural organic mentor that took him to work out like 3 times a week. So, he was building his confidence, skill, and just constantly talking to him before, after, during, you probably know that there's a balance between quality time and quantity time.
Yes.
We always say quality, but sometimes quantity speaks louder when it says, I just want to be with you.
Yeah.
And so tell us about how mentors can show up to spend that quantity, rhythmic, trusted time,
Yes.
what that means, and then speak to the gym accessibility if that's possible.
Yeah. We do have a full, fitness facility here. So we do have walking track and gym and weights and other types of like strength building equipment, those types of things. And those would be activities that we could coordinate permission from parent or guardian,
Mm.
with an adult to be able to work out in that space together. That is something that's totally possible, especially with our 6th through 12th grade older kids, to have access to the gym and to have somebody kind of show them what to do. We also have personal trainer here who specializes in, workouts and personal training plans. And so we could also kind of coordinate that in with a volunteer and a student to create a plan that was a good, safe plan for a young person to, work out in the gym with an adult. That would totally be doable. We do have gym memberships here. Like for adults, it's $20 a month, but for everyone up to age 21, our gym is free.
Mm.
So the kids are only at the younger ages, like 12 to 18, are only allowed in that space with an adult. And of course,
Mm.
with their parent or guardians, consent. But that's something we could totally, create space for. And we have some kids that even in my head right now, I'm thinking, oh, they would totally benefit from a mentor who just wanted to work out with them 3 times a week. And we could certainly facilitate that in that time frame from that 3 to 5 window.
Oh, good. And when it comes to consistency and thinking about it from an incoming mentor's perspective, it's like, what are you asking of me? I know that when two humans connect, something happens and then you just want to be around each other. But coming through the door, what are the hopes and expectations of the smallest amount of time? And then what does it mean to be rhythmic for a season and
Yeah.
communicative?
Yeah, our wish of volunteers is consistency. So if you have an hour a week, you said this is the hour I've got. Could you set me up with a meaningful interaction for that hour every week? Absolutely, we can do that. Our then question back of the volunteer would be, but you must come. You must
Yeah.
show up because especially kids that come from trauma or from really challenging places, everything is about presence. Everything is about being able to count on something or someone. And so if we open up that conversation with that student about building a relationship with an adult that's going to encourage you and be a mentor, we would want to make sure that you understood that they're going to stand by the door and wait for you to arrive on that hour that they think you're coming. So if you have a couple of times a week, well, that we can plug that in, whether it's with one student or multiple students. We really don't have a minimum or a maximum. It's just really about whatever you have, commit to it and be faithful to it as much as possible.
Okay. Yes, that's very helpful. Tell us so the after school program runs, I think, from like mid-August or September through May. What does the summer look like?
Yeah, the summer program begins usually about a week or two after school ends at the end of the year, and our kids will have about 90 kids who will be here from 8:30 in the morning till 3 every
Mm.
day. It's very much an academic summer camp, so we're really focused on math and reading, and then we do a lot of science, technology, art, kind of
Mm.
build and tie those things together around a weekly theme. So every week has a different theme. The kids are also doing physical activities every day, whether they're learning the official rules of pickleball or they're out in the gaga pit or on the playground shooting baskets, whatever that looks like. And then art projects to go with it, which they all actually enjoy very much. Then they're going to be doing some math and reading a little bit, and that comes from Troy School's curriculum. So that's not anything anybody has to prepare. That's something that we just use. And then our art and science and other activities that go on throughout the day, they can be changed at a moment's notice. The teachers have a ton of flexibility, and sometimes they just run with a learning opportunity. We had our older kids last summer started week 1 doing a classroom economy, which was something that the teacher just brought in and said, "I want to try this out
Mm.
with this group and see how they do." By the end of the summer, they were printing money. They had credit cards with their names on
Wow.
them. They were creating businesses and then selling to each other the products they were making in the businesses. I
Yes.
mean, we had a student who created a business. He was selling Italian, like pasta, spaghetti. So at one point, he's preparing a spaghetti dinner, and people are purchasing plates. I mean, it just was like, this one of our students wrote songs, and so he was taking orders and writing songs, and this currency was going back and forth the whole time. It was absolutely incredible to watch
So
because
great.
sometimes kids that age, and these were like probably fifth through ninth grade, which
Mm.
seems old to be so engaged in such a thing, but they all loved it. I mean, I was so proud of their learning over the course of the summer, even being familiar with the language and all the different words involved in being an entrepreneur and thinking about what skills and talents you have and what you could bring to the table that you could use to generate income so you could take care of a family. And it was just incredible learning. None of that was in the original curriculum for summer. It just became an add-on, and we ran with it, and it was a
Mhm.
beautiful thing. So volunteers
Wow.
would come in not necessarily knowing, like, I've got an hour on Tuesdays, and it's like, well, you're printing money. You just don't
Yeah.
know what you might be doing. Or you might actually be involved in helping, Bob create the backboards for his business plan. And, it could have been
Mhm.
anything. So it's a really fun learning time, but we're also aware that it's summer and it should be really, really fun because there are still kids who feel like, I hate that I have to go to school in the summer. And we're like, no,
Yeah.
we're doing fun. So we
Mm.
also use volunteers in the summer to serve food. Troy Foundation gives a grant to us, Partners in Hope in the Rec, to feed all children in the city of Troy up to age 18
Mm.
in the summer. So you can walk into any of our 3 sites and have a lunch, which
Mm.
kids do all summer, walk up to the building. So that's kids who walk in, and also our children. They're all served by that food program. So we would use volunteers every day for about an hour and a half total to basically help run the lunchroom, dispense the food, open
Mm.
bananas for first graders, all of those types of things,
Mhm.
sanitize lunch trays, whatever
Mhm.
whatever job needs done. And a lot of people really ended up enjoying participating in that, like maybe with a small group, or like
Mhm.
a service organization would come together on Tuesdays, or a business would have a few office ladies who would come at the same time. And
Mm.
that was a neat way to serve as a team. And that goes on the whole summer too.
Hmm. That sounds so fun.
I know.
That sounds so good. And I loved what feels like the fun, flexible, just meeting the needs, allowing like the students themselves to emerge what they need, what they want to learn, and let them in some ways facilitate. So, yes, there's academic tutoring, trying to like get to baseline.
Yeah.
There's also the deep relational mentoring part of that, of showing up. But then there's this other creative, fun part of it that we've talked about in what really gets you going? What
Yeah.
is your gifting? What do you like? What's your interests? And just to like paint some pictures, there's the stories of pickleball and sewing, gardening is always a need. And then anything that it sounds like is expressive, art,
Yeah.
music, etc. Like really gets kids going. So if business, I love that you mentioned entrepreneurship and business. Share with us what some of those creative opportunities are. And this is for summer and for after school,
As far as
correct?
like what our business partnerships would be able to
Well,
do.
the showing up with your giftings can be something that can plug in anywhere throughout the year.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have people who frequently will call in the center. It's one of the things that I love getting to receive, those calls and those
Mm.
asks where someone's sitting and thinking, I've got something and I wonder if I could share it. I wonder if someone else, has a need that I could meet. And sewing was an example. We had a gal who called and said, I can sew. I'm retired now. If any of the girls, get a homecoming dress, maybe it's not a new one or maybe it is and it needs to be, you know, trimmed up so it will fit them, I'm happy to come in and work with them at the center during the after school program to get that dress to fit them properly. And that's just one of there's so many different ways that people could just say, I've got this skill. I wonder if I could teach. We've actually had a group come in that talked about, it was kind of an early workforce development conversation with the kids. And it was actually a lot of the same kids that were in the classroom economy, and just kind of came in and talked to them about what it looks like to build a business and places that, that would be open to your business idea, and defining a lot of things like bank account and, terms that some of our kids maybe aren't familiar with or aren't really seeing in action all the time. But just exposing them to ideas. We've had bankers call and ask if they could bring like a simplified financial curriculum in that the kids could do together. And our thing is, as long as the presenter is willing to understand, we're going to have kids of all different ability levels, receiving information and being part of the conversation. So as long as you can tailor that, also be patient, and also pivot in the event
Yeah.
that it's not working, or maybe content went above their heads, or, something like that. But we certainly welcome, people to come in and to try. We've had Level MB came in and worked with our kids on how to build a wall. So they took kids in small groups, showed them all the cool power tools, talked about what a career in construction would look like, and then actually allowed them to frame up a little wall as a group. They also pulled out the blueprints to our building because they built our new addition, and showed the kids what blueprints look like and helped them to identify where their classroom was on the blueprints and how this is part of the process. They learned a ton that day without ever having to officially learn anything. We've had Hobart Welding has come in and brought like virtual welding machine, and they put the helmets on and they're wearing the heavy protective gear, and then practiced what it looks like to work with the welding machine. And, putting those kind of ideas into the heads of small people about how cool a career like this can be. This is something where we hope we ultimately are creating a pipeline for our local employers to have
Yeah.
kids just go right into the workforce here in Troy. And a lot of the kids in our program don't necessarily have two-parent family at home. They may be living with a grandparent or a relative, or in a foster placement or an adopted placement. They may not be as familiar with like parents leaving to go off to work every day, or, somebody having a job that they called a career, or, something like that. And so, we just kind of hope to expose them to what's possible, and then work with them. We do financial aid workshops. We'll do like whatever it takes to help them. If they've decided this is a career I want to do, then I see the future of the center is, okay, we work with that student to get their funding, to get them out the door, to get them to that school, to, go the distance, so that they can know a future where they can take care of themselves and their families.
So fun. So fun to imagine. I think there's work and there's play. It sounds like people can bring both. It sounds like whatever they do it for 5 hours and it feels like 5 minutes, or they're at work. The opposite of play isn't work. The opposite of play is like depression.
Yeah.
And some people, when they go to work, they are playing. And when you expose kids to these opportunities and these ways of thinking and problem solving that's outside of like their academic normalcy and rigor, they're like, what? I can do
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
So good. A lot of people know the Lincoln Community Center by is all of the sports programming.
Yes.
So share with us the need for coaches and refs.
Yeah, so we utilize volunteer coaches for all of the youth leagues that we do. We're probably most famous for our basketball leagues. Last year we had over 700 kids playing in our league, which requires over 80 volunteer coaches.
Wow.
So a lot of parents step up in that opportunity, or grandparents, or, guardians even will step in and say, I'll coach a team. I'll coach a team, which is tremendous. But there's always another need for more coaches, for refs, for people to volunteer to ref games. We have recently started a volleyball league, which is in full swing now and has its volunteers, but that's something annually where we're looking for volunteers for volleyball. We'd like to bring more soccer activities, more other activities to the table for youth. But again, all of those are going to require more volunteers. Our volleyball league actually happened as the result of a volunteer who came in and said, I've coached volleyball for years. I would love to see the center offer that opportunity to young girls in third through sixth grade to learn the basics so they'd be on a really level playing field when they get into the junior high and want to participate in the teams, that are at the older age groups. And so we ended up starting the league because she was willing to step in and say, I'll show you how to set it up and I'll help you staff it. So the possibilities are like kind of endless with that, having people to volunteer. We also have people who volunteer who say, I'm a yoga instructor. I'd love to volunteer and come in and teach a yoga class, or I'd like to teach a Zumba class for the children, and then we can offer that without charge to the children if a coach is willing to volunteer their time, or at least at a minimal cost. And then we also scholarship many of our families based on financial need, and we're really grateful to have the opportunity to do that. So we believe that no one should not have access to healthy lifestyle and to fitness because of finances. So the generosity of the Duke Foundation and many, many other private donors is how we're able to do that. But volunteers really make it work because that keeps our overhead low.
And just to share the breadth of the need, like you may need like 40 to 60 additional coaches for basketball, or
Yes,
15 to 20 refs even for this
for
upcoming
this
season.
upcoming season. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that we shared quite a bit about the ongoing rhythmic opportunities. There's a couple of one-time opportunities as well as physical items and food that would be of great help. Could you share some of those?
Sure. We kind of do the same community events annually. So coming up on what's next, we have a huge Thanksgiving feast. And that will take a massive amount of volunteers to put on, everything from plucking turkeys to serving people at tables to cleaning up. We had classroom teachers volunteering last year to have their students make artwork for the center of the tables so that the folks who were in the room enjoyed, having a colorful table to sit down. We have an angel tree that we put up in December. And so that's volunteer, completely driven. Volunteers come in, take a gift off the tree and a name tag, or take a name tag off the tree and then go and purchase a gift for one of the students in our program. And then we also do adopt a family. So last year, 14 of our families with financial need were able to be adopted, like guardians, the kids, little ones who maybe are not even in our program yet, and we're able to really meet financial needs. On the majority of those applications that they submit, food is like the number one item. So we frequently encounter a situation where someone's in the door and they're like, I really don't have any food for tonight. Or they'll call in and they'll say, do you have any food? And so we like to have shelf-stable items here in a box that we can quickly get a response to somebody in real time. And when you're hungry and you have teenagers in your house, tomorrow is not really good enough. It really needs
Yeah.
to be something that can be eaten today. So we take donations of like snacks, individually packaged items, which we use to feed the kids every day when they come after school, but also canned goods or boxed items that we can put together in a bag and quickly get to someone in the parking lot until we can get them connected to more of a resource through the food pantry, or Partners in Hope, or, something that's more of a long-term solution. But I get a call a lot that it's like, I have my 3 grandkids that I'm raising, and they said I am not ready to get food for another week, but we're out. And I have 3 teen boys in my house, so I know that the food is probably gone,
Yeah.
especially if it was left out where they could see it. So, nobody should be hungry, not in the city of Troy, not in this
Mhm.
town. We have so many generous people, I think, who just really need to know what the need is. And once they know the need, it's like, well, yeah, I can put an extra bag of groceries out. So that's something that we welcome. And then we do a Black History Month celebration in February, and that's volunteer driven as well. Everything from donating the food for it to serving to we just want everyone to come and sit down at the table and volunteer your time to learn about somebody new, learn about somebody who lives in your community that you haven't met before. So that takes place in February. Then we do a big community Easter egg hunt in the spring. And that's when hundreds of small children carrying colored baskets converge. So that's everything from donating candy to
Mm,
stuffing eggs to
mm,
dispersing them to keeping kids safe while they're running around collecting them to having to wear the Easter Bunny costume that everyone runs from. It could be any number of jobs that are involved in that process. And then in the summer, we kind of cycle back to our back to school bash at the end of summer. And that is another huge event where we do 500 book bags, haircuts, shoes for any children in the community, Miami County, and even beyond who need a book bag. So they just
mm.
sign up. So that takes teams all summer to collect items, sort items, inventory, pack bags, tag them, and then to run the day itself. So plenty of places to serve.
Plenty of things to do.
Yeah.
Yes. So many ways to plug in. One thing that I wanted to make also very clear for folks who are looking at plugging in relationally after school or summer as a coach is this onboarding process. And what I remember is that there's a form, a short interview, a background check, and then choosing a rhythm.
Yeah.
Can you share unpack that?
Yeah. So we have a form. It's just a front back. The front is obviously the information that we would need and references. The back is our code of conduct and kind of what we require. We do a background check on every adult who works in this building with children in any capacity, and we handle that. It's not any cost to anyone. And then someone's going to reach out to you if you marked the category of youth or garden or whatever area you wanted to serve. And someone will reach out to you and say, okay, what are you thinking? How much time do you have? How regularly do you want to do this? And then once you say this is the time or date, then we just ask that you stick to it. If you have to make a change, call and give us a heads up, especially if it's a one-on-one situation, so we can give the kids a lot of notice. But, do your best to stick with it.
Yeah. We say that 90% of mentoring is showing up.
Yeah.
Your presence is so needed, and consistency and trust is so easily broken. So be trustworthy, be trustable,
Yeah. Yeah.
show up. So I think that, is there any other logistical things or stories that you wanted to share just about the center? And then I have a kind of a closing question.
Yeah, some people have heard me share. There's a lot of stories. There are a couple that have just kind of grabbed my heart from the beginning that I frequently go back to. One of those is at our Angel Tree project at Christmas. We had put gifts out as the people bring them in. So they're coming in all month. We're putting them under the tree. The kids have a really hard time resisting. They come in from the bus, they go to the tree, they want to find their name, and then they head back to class. And I had one student who was coming every day and her package had not arrived, and she was very
Mm,
concerned about that.
mm,
But one day I walked up to her, I said, "Listen, it's not here yet, but everybody will get one. Go back to your classroom." And then she looked at me, she's like, "Oh," and then she said, "Oh, wait, do only the good kids get presents?" And every time that I tell this story, it kind of punches me in the stomach. But from a very practical level, as both an educator, as an adoptive parent, as a mom myself, I am like, all the kids are good. All the kids are good, and all the kids are getting a present. They're all worthy of a present.
yeah. Yeah.
Everybody is good. You are good. And you do deserve a gift, and your gift will be there. Now go to class. But now I'm very aware of the fact that that's a song that's playing in her head.
Yeah.
And so every time she and I have an interaction, I can intentionally change the narrative in her brain
Yeah.
about her, who she is, and that she is good and that she is worthy of a gift. And she's, just like everybody else, should be paid attention to and should be acknowledged. And I see that similar conversation playing out in so many ways. Where when you spend time with a kid and they trust you, they let their guard down enough, they'll say kind of what they're thinking. And now you can do one of two things with that. You can be like, huh, and walk away, or you can be like, whoa, I got to change that song, and spend the time walking by the kid every time you see them, changing it and replacing it with a healthy voice that's telling them who they are, who they were made to be, and what their potential is. And I really believe that will make the difference. I really believe that as they grow up, they're going to be thinking about who said that to them. They're going to be thinking about, wait, no, that's not what I was told. That's not what they told me, especially because she's a younger one. And so with several more years to be able to keep building into her, I can't wait to see who she becomes, in the future. But that's kind of the value of presence. That is being able to be next to a kid repeatedly to the point that they trust you, they talk with you, and then you can talk back and build them up. And then, also over time here, we work so much with families, not just youth. We often have the opportunity to speak into families as well. And over time, people trust you as they see that you're consistently loving on and taking care of their children. And then we have the opportunity to speak to their families and offer hope and offer resources and hopefully provide connection in places that there otherwise isn't any. So there are plenty of adults around the building that would benefit from presence and a mentor as well.
It feels like the most tragic thing when, whether generationally or beyond, something is planted inside that grows these massive amount of weeds that says and is reinforced, whether verbally or non-verbally or both, that I am bad, I'm not good, I'm not worthy, I'm not likable, I'm not lovable, no one likes me, I shouldn't exist. Whatever those constant, I would consider them not intentionally, but evil,
Yeah.
kind of suppressing, oppressive things. And it is the presence, consistency to help weed out over time. And those weeds can pop up so quickly and fiercely, but to whittle away at them, to say, no, you are likable, you are lovable, you are good, you are wonderful, you're amazing, you're worthy. I don't think any of us doesn't need dosing of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and especially those who have generational suffering.
Yeah, I had an 18-year-old, an interaction with an 18-year-old here the other day, and was just thanking her for being here, and we're like, "We're so glad you're here," and just
Mm,
really welcoming her and thanking her for what her contribution was. And she just looked at me and she's like, "No one's ever wanted me around before." Like as an 18-year-old, and she's, she's working on college. But that was what she said to me, who she's known for a few months. But a few
yeah.
months of really recognizing her contribution and how, just making her feel safe and making her feel welcome when she's in our building. Those kind of conversations, this just don't leave me. I mean, I just see that's the value of having a community center, but not just a place where people come, but also where others come that have a different experience and have something to offer and think this is the right place to give it. This is the right place to really get your hands dirty and pour into people. It just really is.
I think that last part of this conversation feels like invitation enough for anyone who has any little bit of margin to say that any little thing, one, gives you energy to keep going, gives your staff and other volunteers, gives the kids energy and the parents. They see that gift of contribution and generosity coming in, and it builds a self-sustaining flywheel of momentum. But you have to keep pushing that. But maybe in this last moment, roll out the red carpet invitationally, verbally, for like any listener who's listening and any listener who has the joy of sharing this conversation with someone else, so that all of us are rolling out the red carpets to our friends and our networks.
Yeah. To summarize it in one word, it's presence. I feel like I've been saying this all over town, and I probably will just keep saying it because I can't think of a better word. This is the place. Just come and be present. I mean, honestly, if you're on the fence even about serving here, a lot of people hadn't been in the building since the new addition has been built. They may have been here 10 years ago and had a different experience in a tinier space and a different program setting. But just come in the building and be present for a few minutes. Just come and sit in the lobby or bring your lunch and sit at the round tables that we have over by the gym area and just sit down and observe what goes on. Because if you're on the fence, once you see the interaction of people with one another and the diversity of people that are interacting with one another, I think that you'll find this is going to be a really meaningful place to share of yourself. I think that whether it's your passion would even be children, adults, families, whatever that looks like, seniors, you could come in here and say, I really want to pour myself out in a place that's really meaningful. This is that place. And we want you to come in here and see how that feels. Come in here and see how that feels.
Yes. Amen. Thank you, Kim. Thanks for your time.
Thanks,
Thanks for listener for being with us. And yeah, I think that just kind of the overarching hope in this new season underneath your stewardship is that we just continue to build the density of loving, kind, caring, compassionate, safe, trustable, relational bonds.
Yeah, it's good for whole communities. I mean, it's good for the kids specifically here, but these are also the future leaders of the city we all live in. So this is a wonderful opportunity to be part of shaping a healthier and more vibrant and more rounded city of Troy into the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for your time today.
Wow. Wasn't that conversation powerful? Chances are, while you were listening, someone else was coming to mind. You wanted them to listen in too. And on behalf of a child, send this episode their way. And if you care about these kids, take a moment right now to subscribe, rate, and review. Because when you do, the algorithm helps more people find these conversations, to find the voice of these kids. And each small step you take help more adults show up for a child with a harder story. If you want to explore how you can show up, fill out the no commitment form in the description of this episode. Because only together can we help more kids find the support they need. And only together can we help more adults step into the story they were made for.